much for joining me to another episode of Home Sweet Loan. We have Dave Monty here with us with the Next Home Sally Love Real Estate Group in the Villages, and we are so excited to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to learn a little bit about you and how you're using YouTube in your business. It's become very popular, right? And so I know a lot of people are trying to use YouTube to grow business, but how do you do it? And you've been so successful. So I thought, you know what, let's pick your brain, share a little bit about what the success you're having, how you're doing it, and learn a little bit with you. So thanks for joining us. Tell us just a little bit about your background, a little bit about, how long you've been in the business, what you've been doing, all that good stuff.
I think probably the most relevant background is I've been in sales for 35 years. And all facets from an account executive all the way up to a VP of sales, ran sales operations, and have written a couple sales books too. And I think more importantly than writing the books, it was doing the research for the book that turned me into a better salesperson and led into how I'm actually using YouTube today. It's not just plopping up videos. There's a little secret sauce in that. I'll share most of it, but not all of it.
You can't share all your secrets, right? So, all right. So tell us, you've been in real estate for how long?
Let me go there. So I've been in real estate for only 6 years. I started off in my first year doing what everyone else does, postcards and working open houses. And about halfway through the first year, luckily, COVID happened, and it gave us a little bit of time to do some things. And one of the admin assistants, or one of the assistants at the last brokerage I was at, had said, you need to do videos, and no one else was doing them. And if you want to differentiate, and said, let me give it a try. And I started off certain ways, and it wasn't very successful at first. And then I actually stepped back and said, wait, I'm not taking my own advice of the stuff that I have been teaching for years. I wasn't taking my own advice. And then when I made that shift, all of a sudden it just took off. So, I did probably 3 times what I did my second year in real estate as I did in my first year, all due to YouTube.
That is amazing. And you're so far ahead of the curve because obviously you've been doing it now for several years. Right. And there's people that are just really trying to break into it now, but you've got all this, all this experience. And so you've learned and adapted and grown and all that. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, so what inspired you to start your YouTube channel?
It's going to sound funny, laziness. You're in sales, and I've been doing it for 35 years and kind of got sick of knocking on doors and picking up the phone and cold calling, and said there's got to be a way for people to come to me. And really that's kind of what inspired it, is when someone had mentioned to me, YouTube is successful for certain people. I just started thinking through. Like I said, I'd rather have people call me than me have to reach out. And I've mentioned this before, but I've never even emailed my database. I do not do any other marketing other than YouTube. And I barely do that anymore because all the videos are up there working for me already.
Yeah. So what was that aha moment where you were like, oh my gosh, YouTube can really generate business for me? This is like real business.
When you start putting them up and you get a few people watching, and it can be discouraging at first. It's like, I got 3 subscribers and 4 subscribers.
Hey, I'm at 9.
9. All right. And that's not the way to measure this particular business. If I was making money on clicks or making money on view time, then you really want a huge subscription base. And that probably brings up a good point. My subscription base, I've only got 3,400 people. There's other agents in the villages who've got 20,000 people, but they're not doing nearly the business that I'm doing because they're not doing it correctly. And we can get into some of that when we get to that portion of this.
Yeah. Okay. And so you now have, you said 3,400 subscribers.
Yeah.
How do you kind of determine what your content is going to look like? How do you determine, what you're talking about and what's going to get the most views?
Yeah. So that's probably the most important thing, is that it's not really about the most views. It's about attracting the right people. Um, and this is kind of, when we'll get into content. When I went onto YouTube, there were some people in the villages doing YouTube, and they were doing it their way. Then started seeing the success I was having away from YouTube in the real estate business, and started copying some of the things I was doing. And the biggest mistake I think people make is, and this is in marketing, this is everybody's website. This is everything. It's look at me, here, get my selfie, look at me at the town square. Hey, I'm eating dinner at Primo's in Brownwood. So people were just doing it for name recognition. There's been a massive shift in selling in general since the internet's happened. We've been selling the same way since we traded goats at the market 5,000 years ago. But with the internet, things have changed, meaning that they no longer need salespeople to come in and educate them on process, to educate them on, whatever their products are. The salespeople who are walking data sheets tend not to do well. So in this age, it's reciprocity, meaning it's give to get. And so that's that's really the beginning of the secret sauce. Is I just said, I made the mistake at the beginning. I was on golf courses. I was talking about how the traffic circles work. And I said, well, wait a second. I'm trying to attract real estate clients. Why don't I explain what the real estate market is here? Let me educate the potential buyer. And I haven't even I've been listing so many more homes now that I probably list more homes than I work with buyers. And I don't even have listing videos up, and I eventually got to get some. But, my last broker always said you're either working in the business or on the business, and you need to do both. And
you need to be doing both. Yeah.
And my YouTube channel works on the business 24/7. So I'm actually too busy working on the business to get back to YouTube, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Share a success story that you have where you were, somebody maybe found you on YouTube, what that looked like, and what, how that went.
Well, I mean, it's part of the secret sauce, and I'll give it away a little bit, is you got to get people to reach out to you. So you got to give something, and it's not easy. I wrote a big guide. I've got things to give to people. I got things, give people reason to reach out to me, as opposed to sending them to a web page that's informal. So all of a sudden, when I started putting up these videos, it started off 2 leads a day, 3 leads a day. And actually within 2 months, I had 5, 6 leads. By the end of the year, it was 10 leads a day of people reaching out to me.
These are people looking to buy and sell homes in the villages.
Probably people still in the research, and especially in the villages, right? And I don't want to take all the credit, because this will translate, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult for people in different markets, because I know people are Googling and researching the villages pretty hard. Yeah. If I were doing this in a different state, I would probably choose to do videos on individual subdivisions. Someone's interested in looking at whatever that subdivision is in that area. They've looked at a house, and now they go, well, what's the subdivision like? And so you do have to come up with things that people are searching for in the real estate environment. So I think that is important, because, and I'll explain, and this is the one thing that I kind of learned over time is, regardless of what market you're in, who owns YouTube? It's Google, right? When you Google something, they always want to put video content on their first page. So if you look at the first page, there'll be a couple links, and right underneath it are videos. And regardless of where you are, they know where the user is. And if you have a video about real estate, or video about, use an old place I used to live, Sunset Ridge subdivision, and someone searches on that, if you have a video about that, it'll pop up on the first page of Google without doing any search engine optimization. Yeah. So you're almost hacking the system a little bit there. So that comes in with content, what you're going to provide for content. But that's what I found is, it is a simple way to hack Google.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And
Yeah.
again, probably so many people don't really even understand that that's how it works and why it works so well, but it does. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
It looks at the SEOs and the videos and all that ties
Yeah.
together. Have you found that there's like certain ways of what is in like your not your subscriptions but your views? What
Mm-hmm.
works well to increase your views? Is there a certain video type? Is there
The more provocative the subject line, the better. Probably the biggest views I get were, and you almost have to understand our market, but in the villages you have a very large new home build section of the villages, and then you have the resale half of things. And the most provocative one I got is why are new homes less expensive than resale homes? And it just things that pique curiosity and things that are a little bit provocative basically in the name. Also, when you do put up a video, a few things that people miss is you got to put things in the description because that description is searchable. So along those lines, I'll say, one of the best listing agents, but it doesn't even have to be about me, right? So if I just put best listing agent in the villages, I could say another name, right? It's Jane Doe is the best listing agent in the villages, that they're going to come to my video. Yeah. Okay. So it has a little bit to do with, what you put in the description and also, what the headline is. Partly because once you start having a subscriber base, you do need something to capture their attention to want to click into that video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you do your videos, do you go off the cuff? Do you have scripts? Like what's a typical video look like for you?
Well, I'm just a pasty guy in front of a PowerPoint presentation. So meaning I use a PowerPoint to keep me on track, and I will know what I want to say going in, but I have in my mind what I want to do on each slide. And so I am off the cuff a little bit, and that's just me. I can't give a 30-second speech. And I've got people who've seen me blow it, 30-second speech, and if I have to memorize a script. Okay, so for me, I have to be off the cuff or I'll get confused. It does increase editing time. Often I'll get through a section of the video and then I'm editing it and going, oh God, I forgot an important point. We'll have to go back and redo that. So it would help a little bit to, have an outline and talking points. So I started doing that a little bit. So each slide, I just make sure I hit the bullet points and have little cards with me. But it is off the cuff. But again, the individual topics I'm talking about per slide, I do try to write down just to keep me on track.
And is there a time limit that you feel is where you want to keep it at for your videos? I mean, I know shorts do really, really well.
They do.
Do you do shorts and
shoot, I can't clear my throat in 30 seconds. So I've been, if I want to increase my things, the shorts are key to helping you increase the number of people coming in. I haven't done it yet. I've been told by many people that my videos are too long, but I've never heard it from the people who are watching my videos. Maybe they're just being nice and haven't done it, but my brokers, I remember, they're always like 20 minutes long.
Okay.
And I usually try to actually video it all the way through. And then edit it down. So usually my videos are like 35 minutes long and then edit down to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And sometimes because I'm repeating slides because I missed a point and I'll go back and repeat myself. So it takes me, and we can talk about that too, but it takes me an afternoon to do a full video from videoing it to editing it.
Editing, I was just about to say, and then you edit it yourself, correct?
I do. I use a tool called Filmora. And when I bought it, I got a lifetime. I don't know what the pricing is now, but I bought a lifetime $150 and you got to use it for the last 6 years. And it's very powerful. it's as easy as you want to use it, and it's as complicated as you need to build a feature film. I probably use a good 2% of that entire tool, and really it is just about editing out and
Right.
cutting out big chunks of things, and putting, and then anyway, like I got a little intro screen, so that intro screen was done once, and I pull that into the clip and I can
Every time.
insert it. Yeah. So Filmora, a great product it's a little bit of a learning curve, but not too bad. There are plenty of videos up. There's a lot of YouTube videos on Filmora on how to use it. So anytime I say, hey, I want to try to do this, it's pretty easy to find a video.
You could you use that same software to pull your shorts down if you wanted to make content out of your videos, just to make small little shorts segments for you to post that would kind of give a intro to what you're going to talk about?
I think I could do that. I haven't done it. I haven't done it yet. Again, I haven't done any shorts.
Yeah.
And to me, what happens is the education that I'm providing tends to be location. But maybe I could talk about homes around Sumter Landing as a short. But I always find that in the villages, since it's kind of complex, and people think of this area as one big subdivision when it's really a city. Yeah. And that's what I find a lot of people, it's almost like statistics, right? If I tell you there's, in real estate, there's 500 homes on the market today. Well, there's no context to that. Same thing if I say the homes around Sumter Landing or blah, there's no context to compare it to other things. So meaning, let me get back to 500 homes on the market. For here, that's a lot. For New York City, that's absolutely nothing. So for me, being very analytical, mine tend to be a little bit longer. And I too tend to attract a certain type of client. I'm not the person that's going to remember your pet's names and when your birthday is and things like that. I'm very analytical. I take sort of that fiduciary presence with my clients because it's a huge investment for them. And so I tend to attract a lot of engineers and a lot of accountants and a lot of people who are good at numbers. And I'm attracting enough of those where I don't necessarily have to worry about attracting, the people who want their hand held through the whole process.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, like you said, this is for most people the largest purchase they'll make, right? Yep. And for most people coming to your area, they're potentially retiring, right? Yep. And so they're looking for somebody to guide them with that fiduciary responsibility, not just, open doors. So.
Yeah. And I take that seriously. And that comes across in my videos.
Right.
I could get it, real detail. There's a lot of subtleties through my videos, and this might sound funny. I get people coming and we just trust you. We don't know why. Well, there's a combination of things. People tend to trust people on TV, whether, regardless. And it's on TV, it's written down. It must be true. But there are things that I do in my videos that I always hit certain points that hit different elements of trust. So when people reach out to me, they already trust me. Now, while there's a few, I will say, little things that I'm doing on purpose in there, I don't feel guilty about it because I back up what I say I'm going to do.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. And you have to build, that's the way you can connect with the client before you've really connected with them. So it's important that that's how you're capturing your audience for sure.
Yeah.
So how do you, I know you said that now you've become very well known in the community. So you'll be walking and people kind of know you. Mm-hmm. Is that all from YouTube, you feel like? Is
that? Yeah. I get stopped a lot or, are you Dave? I'm like, yeah, I am. Well, we see you on YouTube. And it's kind of weird. I work with so many clients and so many faces and so many names, and someone's approaching me at town square. It's like, okay. Then you got to go through. Have I ever met this person? Are they a buyer? Are they a seller? Are they a friend? What context? So yeah, you get it a lot. And I knew the power of it one time when I was actually at the villages welcome center, whatever, when one of my clients was getting ID passes and their gate cards, and we're walking down the aisle, and I hear someone back to me say, "Is that Dave Monty?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is." and 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 you do it, it's almost embarrassing to say. You almost get a little celebrity status, and like I said, I'm just a pasty guy in front of a PowerPoint. But because you're on TV and you're in people's living rooms, people watch it on their TV. There's that certain amount of familiarity as well as a level of trust that you gain with your, with your potential clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So most of your videos are educational.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are. Yeah. So how do you, I mean, I think we talked a little bit about it, but like, how do you know which content is going to drive and what they're looking for?
Again, I think a little bit of a provocative type of story, or a little bit of a provocative type of a title will always draw people in. Maybe I'm a little bit lucky because I started pretty early in the process with YouTube. YouTube's been around for a long time, but not that many people used it for real estate.
Business, yeah.
How I started, and I think you asked what topics do I use. I worked a lot of open houses in my first year, and I wrote down every question. And if I didn't know it, I faked it. Fake it till you make it, and
sure.
True. So I was there for 6-7 months and talking like I knew the villages, but I did a lot of research to make sure what I was saying was true. And so the content was all the questions I got at an open house. What's the bond? What's this? What's that? On and on. Whatever the question was, I wrote it down and said, "Hey, there's a video."
Yeah.
Now my videos are pretty much just market updates. I need to actually go back and update my old videos because some of them are dated. As the villages grows, things change. Right. But and I need to go back. But I'm so busy working in the business, like we talked about, that it's hard to find the time to go ahead and redo some of the videos.
Yeah.
So, and I now that I'm listing more homes, I all of my videos are actually geared towards buyers, but I still get people who see me on YouTube saying, the fascinating thing is people who didn't even buy from me, but saw me 6 years ago on YouTube may have bought through the villages because I can't sell new homes. And now they're going to list their home. I saw you 6 years ago on YouTube and thought you'd be good at reselling our house.
That's amazing. I mean, what a steady way to continue to grow your business without, I mean, it's just continuing to pay you dividends years down the road. So, and to your point, you got started in it before. I mean, people are just now starting to do a lot and try to get on YouTube because that's what everybody says. There's an effective way of doing it and being successful with it, but you found that out years before most everybody else. So you're very established and have that following, and it's worked really, really well for you, and that's awesome.
Yeah, so, and I'll use. Sorry to interrupt there. There's a huge ROT. Everyone says ROI, return on investment. There's ROT is return on time.
Time, yeah.
Say I got 50 or 60 videos up there. That means an afternoon, so that's 30 days of videoing. And again, I don't have a huge following. I don't, I'd see some people that got 50,000 hits on one video. I think the most I've ever had is maybe 2,000 or 3,000. But I don't need a lot of hits. I need people to reach out to me, and I need buyers and listing clients. I don't need that huge subscription base. But I've had almost 28,000 hours of views. That's 14 years. So my YouTube has worked 14 years for me marketing based on 30 days of work.
Yeah.
Well, that ROT is huge with YouTube.
it's working smarter, not harder, to be
Right.
honest with you. I mean, that's exactly what you're doing. You're
Right.
capitalizing on a place that, and I do agree. I mean, I think that there are so many questions people have about the villages, right? So it
Right.
does help a little bit that it's like a niche community and everybody's interested in it and want to know, but you've obviously also found a way to capture them for them to reach out to you, because it's one
Right.
thing to have the views, but then what do they
Right.
do once they've viewed it? If they're not reaching
Right.
out to you, then what was the purpose?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I try to, like I said, I attract a certain type of client, but because I try to analyze what's going on here in the village and try to, and to be blunt and honest, whether it helps me or not.
yeah,
Um, you know, and I'll use an example that's not even really to YouTube, is that, I was told at the beginning, half of the resale homes are with the villages. You're competing against them. Well, in my opinion, the best thing to do for my buyer or client, whatever you want to call them, and the fiduciary thing is to tell them that they need to work with a village's agent. And I'll introduce them to one, and I don't take any kickbacks or anything like that. The reason you do that is it shows that you care about them, and it's not 100% about you, and you playing the long game. So that's why people call me 6 years later and say, we would like to list with you.
yeah,
And so I think that is what I try to project in my videos, is that I'm there for them, and the content is for them. It's I even get questions. Are you even a real estate agent? I'll get that a lot. Do you actually sell homes? Because I don't advertise that I don't, it's not an advertisement. That's the biggest mistake all people make. It's not an advertisement. I'm giving away my content 100%, and people appreciate that. And that's where that reciprocity is. And I use an example. It was, I was working in an open house, and there was an open house down the street, and a guy walks in and goes, I was just about to put an offer down the street, and I saw your sign on the garage, and I appreciate everything that you taught me about the villages, so I'm going to buy this house instead of that house. I'm like, okay. The other thing that I love, that my favorite calls are, you haven't talked to you before, but we found a house online that we really like, and we want to put an offer in on it. Okay.
no,
Yeah. And, so those are the types of things that YouTube affords you, is, if you can come across as trustworthy, if you can come across as what you're doing, and here's the secret sauce. There's 4 elements of trust, right? There's a book by Stephen Covey Jr. It's the speed of trust in a business setting, but in a sales setting, it's going to be, do you produce results? So I always will hint in my videos that when I help this person buy this house or sell this person, I don't go and say I sold X amount of homes. It's not an advertisement. It's when I helped this person. That leads to the second thing. What's your intention? Is your intention to help, or is it to sell them something? They can smell the people who want to sell them something all day long. My intention is to help. One's capability, right? So by being an expert, and I think in the statistical way, I show that I really understand the market. So that's the expert. And then the last one's just honesty, and pretty simple. So can you produce results? Are your intentions good? Are you capable? And are you honest? And
yeah.
And so
people that people want to work with.
Yeah, and I project those in my videos, just little things that I know that I can put in, and then people come back and say, for some reason we trust you, and I'm, well, I know why,
Yeah.
but then I back up,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all, like, I think there's a difference between the education, which is what you're doing, and then with it coming across as a sales pitch. And as long as it doesn't feel salesy and you're really more just providing value, then that's what they're going to feel.
Yeah.
So if you had to give some advice for an agent looking to get on and start using YouTube, what would be your first piece of advice?
Work a lot of open houses. Really. I mean, you got to learn. Someone's brand new. Yeah, people are brand new coming in. You need to ask the questions. You need to understand what questions that people want answers to. Then you also need to know what the answers are. So the first thing is get a little bit of experience. I wouldn't be doing YouTube day one, but I probably got 6 months of experience under my belt. I worked any open house I could when I first started, and started, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. Let me get back to you. But I would always get back to the people at the open house. The second one is get over your own voice. No one likes their voice. And I hear that from so many people. I can't stand listening to myself.
Right.
I was the same way when I first came on. I said, is that really my voice? Ugh, but it takes you to edit one to get over that. And then it is a learning curve. I mean, there's definitely a learning curve with YouTube, and learning curve is never easy for anyone. And, but get the software, start playing with it. And you'll find that there's a lot of weird things out there that, that you would never think you would be good at, like lighting, like I'm so blonde, I come out overexposed. So here, I move this light and all of a sudden I'm overexposed, right? So it's just weird things. It's weird things like that you get good at. But it just takes time. You just get in there and start. Like I said, my very first video, I was talking about traffic circles in the villages. I thought that would get a ton of views and it didn't. And I started talking about golf course etiquette in the villages. I'm like, wait a second, I'm in real estate. So focus on real estate.
Yeah, it is interesting, because I have been trying to grow my YouTube channel, obviously, and initially the things that I thought would get the most views don't. What I started doing as well, which is, glad to hear that I'm thinking like an expert, is taking questions that I get from buyers, first-time home buyers, and writing them down, and that's my content, because that's the stuff that people want to know. That's the answers that people have, questions that people want answers to, not some of the other stuff that I thought would be, this is going to be a good one, and it's not. So, I mean, it's interesting that
there's 1,000 people who will entertain thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people on YouTube that are entertained, not an entertainer.
Yeah.
So I need to, exactly. And when people turn to the internet for education now, and that's what we alluded to earlier in the sales process. Before the internet, they would have to call salespeople in to educate them. Now you actually are engaging with a client after they've done all their homework.
Right.
Where you establish most trust in a sales cycle is in that upfront needs analysis, in that educational process. And so many people skip over that and they never gain the trust of their client. And I say client, and I just mean that in general in sales.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're clearly you're doing that on the front end, because you're getting somebody calling and saying, we want to work with you. We already know what you're about. We want to work with you because you've already built the trust. So it's pretty cool.
I know. It's like, I'll use this, right? I had one the other day. It's good. I don't know if it sounds cocky or whatever, but it's, someone called me up and says, hey, we're ready to start interviewing buyer agents. And I went, I don't have time for that. Because I know that, I'll go tell you, it leads into something, right? It's what I like about YouTube. It's my throttle. If I'm slowing down in my business, all I do is pop up a couple of videos, and next thing you know, I get more buyers, coming into town. So that is one throttle I have. The other throttle is the newspaper here in the villages. I'm at my own capacity, and I'm so busy that I don't have time to build a team, which is the next step. And I use YouTube as like I said, my throttle. But you almost have the obligation to keep putting YouTube videos up, because that keeps you top of mind and keeps you top of the algorithms now that I'm competing against other people. But every time I do, then I get beyond my capacity to service my clients. So it's kind of a little bit of a balancing act, but it's a good problem to have.
I mean, that's awesome. So, I mean, that kind of leads me to my last question. So any upcoming, I know you're trying to figure out the timing of it, and when keeping and adding to your page. What do you have coming up on YouTube? Anything that you've got in the books planned?
Well, I do. I've already got, I've got plenty of presentations built. It's just a matter of time finding them. I try to do a monthly or every other month market update. Okay. So just so people know. So that's usually the next one. For me personally, I always ask people for feedback on stuff, and I get comments asking me, will you do this and do that? And I always say, oh, I'll get to it when I can, and sometimes it's just hard to get to. I actually need to update a lot of mine. The big one is that I'll use. I mean, if people are just watching within the villages here, I don't know how broad this goes, but there used to be a section of the villages that was kind of on the outskirts, and I talked about the advantages and disadvantages of that location. Well, those have changed now that that's more central because they continue to grow.
To grow, yeah.
So, and then, people will see some of those old videos, but you need to keep them up because those stay on top of, those help you with the search engine optimization things. And again, I never had to worry about that because usually if people Googled, there was my video. Now I'm pretty sure if I were to Google real estate, I come up in different ways now because I've sold a lot of homes. Right. So I come up in different ways now other than just needing to be in the videos. But at the beginning, it is about cranking out a lot of content. The more videos you put up, the more YouTube will put you front and center. Yeah. So, I wish I could tell you. Now, we've talked about it, and we'll get to that. So maybe that's what you're alluding to, right? But I get a little bit nervous about getting out of my wheelhouse, but I think going from a mortgage side, there's some products out there that I think could really help my clients. Some of them make me a little nervous to talk about because they have bad reputations, but the benefit is huge for people.
Oh, yeah.
And, so, the more I can educate people on that. So I'm probably going to do what you're doing here, which is to start reaching out to other people who are generating content and not always hearing me drone on and on, in my own videos.
Yeah. I mean, especially just because of all the things you've said, the education is so important, and there's so many misconceptions about different loan products.
Yeah. you don't want to say that. You don't want to say that.
Or just not knowing something like, for example, the all-in-one loan. Just not knowing that something like that exists that could help so many people. So it's just, I love education too. I think that's, it's something I enjoy doing. Right. And I think that's a great way that you could add to what you already done very well at. And so congratulations on
Thanks.
all of your success. I am definitely going to continue to follow you and learn from you, because you gotta start somewhere. And it's interesting, I've like I said, I've only got 9 followers, right? I'm starting to increase my views, and so that's good. But to hear you say it's not necessarily about the followers or the subscribers, it's the how what you're putting out and how many people are actually watching it, and knowing then that they're reaching out to you from there is really how you measure the success.
Right, and if you want a little bit of advice for increasing too, you have to have call to action in there. Yeah. It's like, please, do this, and I got my little spiel down with there. Either subscribe or like. Both those things help more people see it. So the more liked, the more people that see it, the more people that subscribe, the more people that when they search will reach you. But you're right. Some of it's provocative. So we were talking about one product that might be pretty provocative. So come up with a not your mama's reverse mortgage. I don't know. And so some that's a little bit will capture people's attention. But make sure the last piece of advice that you're trying to grow it is in your description, make sure you're putting things like top mortgage broker in the villages, right? You could say whoever it is if you want, and just go, my goal is to be the top, and someone's looking up top mortgage, broker in the villages, and they will see. Yeah. So you can, doesn't have to be within context to be able to capture the searches.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And, thank you so much for joining me and spending some time with me. And I wish you continued success. Obviously, it's going to continue to grow, and as you continue to add to it, and it'll continue to pay you dividends.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, and for you personally, if there are things or questions that you have, or I don't mind being a sounding board.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.